Hi there guys, I just wanted to share a few thoughts with you about today's game that went to, Milton Keynes against Peterborough. The game finished 4-0 to Peterborough, so obviously they'll be very happy tonight, and conversely a very different set of emotions over at Milton Keynes. So first of all, we just have a start to think about the match itself. I mean, obviously the result kind of gives away what happened in the game, and I mean, let's be honest, it's a very fair reflection on the game. If anything, let's be totally honest, probably slightly flattering towards Milton Keynes. Peterborough completely deserved their victory. I mean, general pattern of the game, Milton Keynes started off extremely sluggishly in the first few minutes and never really recovered. Obviously, I've listened to the interview from Tisdale. He doesn't really know what's going on. Playing on the Tuesday night isn't really a good enough excuse. These are professional players. They should be able to play 2 games a week the majority of the year. And Peterborough played midweek as well. They got a victory, away, whereas Milton Keynes were at home midweek. So that's just not a good enough excuse, really. They said it never really recovered. I mean, they could have scored 3, maybe 4 times. Maybe that's a slight exaggeration before they actually did open the goal scoring. They certainly could have scored after only a minute, where Maddison had a good chance and tried to be fancy and lifted it over the bar rather than hitting the target. It's probably easier to have scored in that situation than actually, do what he was trying to do. It's just a bit of a waste of opportunity there. But I mean, obviously, when he did open the scoring, the goal was superb. Absolutely nothing keeper could have done. Maybe the defence could have tried to show him onto his right foot, which is his weaker one. But there was very little stopping it. And once that went in, the whole kind of game had an air of formality about it, really, or finality. Get the word right. The Milton Keynes in the first half, I don't think had a shot on target, and when you're at home, that's just not good enough, really. The second goal probably preventable. You're looking at a silly foul given away. It was on Maddison. I mean, everybody knows Maddison is a little bit of an actor, but it was a foul. The defender had his arm up needlessly and blocked Maddison's run, and it was a free kick. The ball went a long way in the box before Tony got his head to it, and you just can't allow strikers, and Tony is a top class striker at this level. Those type of opportunities are not going to miss. Third goal, it was over the other side of the pitch to me, so I don't know exactly who provided the assist to it, but very well worked again. But you have to say that probably could have been defended better, could have been harder to work through the defence. I think from Milton Keynes' perspective, they'll be a little bit disappointed with the goal. But obviously, from a Peterborough perspective, they worked it well, and it was a nice goal. But obviously, 3-0 midway through the first half is a bit of a game killer, really. And there was, unless there was a really big turnaround, which there wasn't any signs of there being any kind of turnaround. Milton Keynes just weren't playing well enough, and it wasn't like they were getting opportunities at the other end. That they simply played very poorly in the first half. Second half, I think second half was a bit better from Milton Keynes. Especially Healy is clearly a very good player, and I would imagine when he gets fully fit, he would be straight in the side, because he does add an extra dimension. They seem to play quicker. He's that bit sharper, and I think he'll make a big difference, going forward long term. They should have scored after a couple of minutes, Milton Keynes, in the second half. Bowery missed an absolute sitter from a couple of yards. I mean, I probably would have been able to score it even with my specs on. So, it was a bad miss. But at 3-0 down, how much of a difference would it make? Who knows? But at least it would have, maybe spiced the game up a little bit, which would have been quite nice. They did all right, but Peterborough, every time they went forward, they looked dangerous, and especially on the break. They're clearly kind of a team set up to play on the break, and they've got some terrific players, and I'll discuss that later on. They got fourth goal, again a little bit too easy if we're being honest, but it was a really good finish from Isa. But then that's what happens if you pay 7 figures for a striker in League One. Not many of the teams in that league can do that, and you would say that type of quality is what that money buys you. And he looks a good player, and when you think of, like I said, the other guys that they've got some terrific quality there. Now I do think, obviously, it's a big result, and I think if we were later in the season, it would probably carry more weight. And what I mean by that is, if you lose 4-0 at home, getting towards the end of the season, then you might have to worry about the riding repercussions of it. Are you going to wind up in a relegation battle with a team that's won 4-0? Is that going to be something that's going to get them up? Is it something that could get them championship and so on? I just think 4 games into the season, it's too early. You can't start really making these massive, sweeping statements right now. It's just too early. It's a bad result for MK. It's a terrific result for Peterborough. At the same time, Milton Keynes had a terrific result on Tuesday against the good Lincoln side. And I think if you would have offered the fans of MK 3 points from those 2 games, they would have probably said, okay. I think it's just the manner of the defeat is obviously very disappointing for them. But like I said, it's early days, and the same from Peterborough's perspective. I've seen a lot of Peterborough down the years, and it's you get a good win early doors, and it's like, oh, we're going to go and win the championship now. But actually, in reality, you have to keep your feet grounded. I don't know who their next game is, but I mean, you look at, say, Peterborough's results early this season. They've lost at home to Fleetwood. They've lost twice to Oxford. Fleetwood are a decent side. Oxford are a reasonable side. But they're not the sides that you would expect to be right at the top of the table, which is where Peterborough would expect to be. I mean, the loss at home to Fleetwood is a poor result for them. The results away at Oxford is pretty par for the course. I mean, Peterborough always lose against Oxford. Not that that's any excuse going forward, of course. But I think, excuse me, I think the game today set up really well for Peterborough in respect of they've got some really good, fast, skillful, powerful players. And when you're playing away from home at a place like Milton Keynes, massive, great big stadium, or at least at this level, you've got a really big pitch, you've got a team that is trying to attack with today wasn't really working for them, but and then you play on the break, and you've got you've got Tony. Tony is a terrific physical person, holds the ball up really well, clearly could play at a high level. Madison, who I believe has something like the most assists or contributions to goals in all of the 4 leagues last couple of years, something like that. If not right, at the top, he will be close to it. Siriki Dembele came off the bench. He's a terrific player for Mo Isa. I mean, you've got these players there, and I think you could take those 3 or 4 players and easily put them in the championship, and they'll do fine. And when you have that type of firepower, it's very good. But I think so they'll work better when teams press them, and then they can play on the break. Because I can't see very many defences coping with consistent that threat on the break, the pace and the power. Obviously, Madison's goal today he does that so regularly. It's obviously not a fluke. Why Maddison is still playing in League One, and I don't mean that with disrespect to Peterborough, but I believe Leeds were after him a few years back, and he would certainly be a top player in the Championship, and he's a big. He might well be the best attacking player in League One. I can't think of anybody better. Maddison's problem is consistency, and it's always been his problem. And if he is consistent, Peterborough will do very well this year. Let's see, Milton Keynes. Sorry, just going back to Peterborough. I don't think that I saw enough of Peterborough's defence to make a judgment on it. Milton Keynes had a couple of chances from crosses. Now, so what they should have scored from one. Bowery should have scored from one. It was an absolute sitter. Whether or not that is a consistent theme with him this season, I just haven't seen him enough to make a judgment. But Milton Keynes really didn't trouble them through the middle of the park. They didn't really do enough going forward over the course of the game to say, yeah, they're strong. I mean, they've got a really good experienced centre-back in Beavers, who came from Bolton in the summer, good player. They've got a right-back who is... Milton Keynes had more success down the right. And Niall Mason, who's... I got a bit of a checkered past. I'm not really sure whether Peterborough should be playing him. That's not my decision to make. But I don't think as a fan I would want my club signing him. But so it's not my decision to make what players other sides sign. And the left back really didn't have many issues at all. I think he got past twice through some half decent play, but the crosses were poor. There really wasn't enough there to suggest. They look a very good side, and if they keep up that level of performance, I think Peterborough will do very well, and they should make the playoffs. But again, you have to temper this, because you're obviously looking at the result, and Milton Keynes going to get quite a bit of flack probably from their fans. But Peterborough spent a lot of money. They've spent. They broke their transfer record in ISA, and their transfer record was 1.1 million on Asomba Longa. Milton Keynes haven't spent anywhere near that money. So, you have to kind of be semi-realistic about where the teams are at the moment. Milton Keynes' performance today, well, it's disappointing. I think from their perspective, not as such as that they lost, because you can play well and lose. And I remember Lincoln last year; they played very well and lost the game. But at the same time, I think there was a lot of lessons learnt from this result, and I would think that going forward, they would say that they've learnt more from that game than any of the three previous ones that they've had in the division so far, because of the manner of the result and the way that they played. And so they started off sluggish and never recovered. And why they started off sluggishly? It was warm. Not that warm, really. And these are professional sportsmen, they knew it was going to be warm, they should have prepared for it and so on. So it's not really a good enough excuse, that. I think some of the things for me is the passing was atrocious, really poor. There was a period in the first half where, and it was quite early in the game, where they literally kept giving it straight back to Peterborough every time. You can't do that at this level. You have to take better care of the ball. It's just sloppy. And also, Peterborough won all the second ball, or the vast majority of the second ball. And there were times where the Milton Keynes players were waiting for it, and the Peterborough players were going and getting it. And you just think actually that there's no real excuse for that. The players should be on it all the time. They should be able to read the game and react to it. Milton Keynes has some good players, and it just didn't work for them today. And it was disappointing, really. I do think long term, I think Callum Britton was disappointing today. I'm not really sure he works that well with George Williams and that right-hand side combination. I think they both kind of get a bit lost. Maybe that'll improve. I mean, Callum Britton's a good young player. Boateng was good. I thought, he didn't have an awful lot of help, but he was pretty good. He was the only one that seemed to be on the pace of the game compared with some of the other guys. Gilby looked off the pace. Russell Martin struggled with Tony, mind you. I think a lot of defenders will struggle with Tony, and Martin has done pretty well since he signed. So Agard, I thought, was largely disappointing. And one of his issues is that he keeps getting hoofed up to him, and his control isn't good enough to keep it. And what you saw with Tony, Peterborough played it long and it stuck with Tony, and he could bring other players into play. With Agard, they play it long and he miscontrols, and then it goes to the defence and they can't build anything. I mean, he works hard, but he needs to be able to bring others into play. I think he misses someone like an Ike up with him, because Anike was a very different type of player, whereas actually I think Bowery's quite similar. I felt sorry for Bowery today. He tried and he ran all the channels and had no support. He missed a real sitter, but to only have the one opportunity in the game, strikers are going to miss chances, and if you only have the one opportunity, you're not going to win very many games. Let's say Healy changed things when he came on. I would start him as soon as possible, really. Tisdale says he's working up his fitness, but he's now been at the club 2 or 3 weeks. If you don't play him from the start, he's not going to get that longer fitness. And to me, he seems a clear upgrade on what is already in the team. So I think they would greatly benefit from actually starting him and getting him involved. And if he lasts 60 minutes, well, that's more than actually, that's stating the obvious, isn't it? But if he lasts 60, 70, and then gradually building up, and hopefully relatively soon he'll be able to do the full 90 minutes, and I think that would make a big difference to them. I realise I'm kind of going back and forth with some of the players. I thought Cargill had a disappointing game. I thought he was one of the prime people who gave it away a lot. I think, as I was kind of alluding to earlier, we have to put it down to not totally write it off, because you've got to learn from it. Any team can have an off day, and any team can get beat. And I think what you hope is that they take lessons. Well, Milton Keynes, that they take lessons forward from this and learn from them and try to avoid, similar things in the future. Because there are other good sides in the division. You've got Portsmouth, you've got Sunderland, you've got Ipswich. All of these teams have good players, and Milton Keynes got to play them all twice, and if they perform like they did today, they're going to get beat all of those matches, and that will hurt them long term. They would certainly hope to pick up points from their home games. Again, and also from Peterborough's perspective, you look at what went well and try to put it in to action longer term, and even when because they will have an off day too. I've seen Peterborough have plenty of off days in the past. I recall I was at the Scunthorpe game last year where Peterborough were playing a team that had, I believe Scunthorpe at the time, conceded the most league goals away from home in the country, and Peterborough got stuffed at home. So these things happen, and it's keeping like an even keel. learning from it. Obviously, the supporters going to have a good night off the back of that, and well, good luck to them if they enjoy themselves. That's what being a fan is all about, isn't it? You enjoy the good times because you know that at some point you can have an interesting result of your own. Okay, well, so I don't know what Peterborough's next game is, but they'll be on high for that. But I do think they'll perform better against sides who come at them away from it. I would be worried about what would happen if sides sat back, because I'm not sure their system is set up for long periods of possession. But we'll see, and they're clearly a good side, and I think they will make the playoffs easily. And who knows from there? A lot of this League One will depend on home form, and then when you're playing against the other top sides. I do think Milton Keynes will be fine. Half of that is because you've got two teams that are basically down already, and then I think there are almost certainly going to be two teams that are worse than MK. I mean, you look at the start, you've got Southend that's struggling, you've got AFC Wimbledon that's struggling, you've got Accrington have had a not great start. So you've got a number of teams around there, and I do think that Milton Keynes will have enough to be relatively safe, but I do think the results today will be a bit of a shock now. Okay, well, thank you for watching. The sun has just gone down on me. It's a rather nice sunset, actually. It's beautiful bank holiday weather. I hope you guys are all enjoying or going to enjoy your Sunday and Monday as well. Come on, England, for the Ashes. Hopefully we'll knock off those 200 runs tomorrow. And yeah, we'll see you all soon. Thank you.